Hallo, agus fàilte go trí seascad den fhrogram ag BBC Alba a bhí sa taispeanach an Albannach ingantach ag críosail spórs na ban in Alba. Is me Iona Ballantyne ag sa mí tòisich go bhfuil lùth-chleasaiche Albannach Kelsey Stewart córainn san siúdú ar son a chiad uair. Fhrogram na héichinach, géis si bhneachgus uair bhó Kelsey agus Cluinnidh mu cúis mar lùth-chleasaiche a thuilleadh ar na planaichean ar son an amrí teach. Cluinnidh bhó Alexandra Nic Tòisich mu na coimhead a ha ball-basgaid ar a thuairiscí, agus a cluichead ar ball-cóise Laura Darroch a géis mar a thuairí seachad ar lán sa ACL agus go tòisich sa ha ar a bhíreis ar a phàirc. Kelsey, welcome to 360.
Thank you, it's really nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on because we did have you as a feature guest in January last year. There's actually so much to talk about because at that point you were doing skeleton, you are back doing athletics, but before we get to that, why don't we start with you telling us just how you even got into sport in the first place?
So I had a really interesting start to sport. I started through my primary school cross-country club. However, I went to a race before I even got into there, and I was only primary 4 and I wanted to go, and went home and said to my parents that I wanted to, and my mum said, no, you're like me, you can't run, you're not going. So I was quite persistent in it, and eventually my dad caved and took me, and I came second girl, and it was a primary 4 to 7 race, so I was quite young, so they let me into the primary school cross-country team a little bit early, and then it just kind of went from there, to be honest. Got involved in the local club, and yeah, that was it.
That's amazing. Do you ever remind your mum of what she said?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time.
And then just tell us what happened after that, because there's been quite a journey which we will get to. Like we say, you did skeleton at some point, you're back to athletics. Before you got to skeleton, kind of take us up to that point.
Yeah, so I had a really good athletics career up to that point. Got to the 2018 Commonwealth Games, won the Scottish 400 metre title a couple of times, represented GB under 20, under 23 level. It was going really well. It was fantastic, had a lot of good opportunities. What
then happened pre-skeleton?
So I was just kind of a little bit stuck in the rut with, I guess, when COVID hit, like a lot of people felt like I needed a little bit of a change, probably wasn't enjoying it quite so much. And then the opportunity for the talent ID for skeleton came up, and someone said to me, they sent it to me, and they said, I think you'd be mental enough for this.
So throw yourself on a sheet of metal head first.
Exactly. So yeah, I was mental enough, put the application in, not thinking it was going to come to anything. Started off as 250 girls, went down to 6 of us, and somehow kept making it through all the rounds.
It is actually incredible because it was kind of the last 6 girls before you left the programme. I mean, even to get from 200 down to 6 of a brand new sport, do you look back now and realise just what you achieved in that? Yeah,
absolutely. Like, that was huge, and to have the skill set that they were looking for is something to be quite proud of, and it was a real gamble for me, and it's something I'm so glad I did.
Well, tell us what happened after skeleton, because at that point were you kind of ready to leave the skeleton programme and then just leave sport behind?
Yeah, so when skeleton came to an end, I think I was quite ready to kind of park sport at that point. I was maybe a little bit burnt out, and somehow I went round to one of my friends' houses, Zoe Clark's, for my dinner, and her and her boyfriend were there, and he is now a coach, and they somehow, by the time I left, managed to convince me to come back to athletics. So then Ryan coached me, and yeah, I was back.
You do seem like a very different person now from pre-skeleton Kelsey in athletics. What are the changes that you feel yourself?
I think I probably got quite hung up on if a session went badly. I thought it was a be-all end-all, whereas now I think I'm a little bit more relaxed with it. I'm certainly not a relaxed person, but I think with that I'm a little bit more chilled out with it, and just I don't dwell on things quite so much.
What about racing now? Do you feel a different mindset? Like, what did you kind of learn from skeleton that you could take back into athletics?
I think it's learning about yourself and learning about where your strengths are and playing to your own strengths. And I guess it's about knowing as well that your chances are just as good as anyone else's. When you line up on the start line, never rule yourself out before you start, because you could be in with a big group and your odds are just as good as theirs. So I think I probably have learnt that.
Which you have proved, like you say, from even being up against 250 girls doing skeleton. So is that a mindset that you've always had, or is that kind of developed over the years?
I think it's probably developed over the years to an extent. I think nowadays I'm better at backing myself if you're in with a big group, whereas before I probably did think I wasn't in with a chance of these things, whereas now I know that sometimes luck can be on your side and you just have to kind of go with the flow and see what happens, what the outcome is. You've
obviously, like you said at the start, been involved in athletics for a very long time. You know the whole Scotland setup. We've seen some incredible results through the women competing in Scottish athletics. If we look at the longer distances, Ailish McColgan and Laura Muir, even closer to your distance, Beth Dobbin and Zoe Clark, who got you back into running again after skeleton. Do you see them still, what they're kind of still achieving up there, and think, right, I can do that too?
Yeah, I think what they're achieving is fantastic, and I think we're on a really positive time for women's athletics in Scotland. I think when you look back, say a decade ago, we're real world beaters now, which I think is fantastic. And I think for me, I just want to try and get as far as I can and see how things go.
What was it like watching even the Commonwealth Games and seeing the athletes up there? Did it give you some fire in your belly to think, right, I'm going to do this too?
Yeah, I think it did, and I think it has given me a bit of fire in my belly to hopefully try and get 2026 Commonwealth Games. I think the whole country is inspired by what's going on, and particularly Ailish's run. I know so many people who aren't athletes that were really inspired.
And you say the 2026 Commonwealth Games, what would that mean to get there, considering skeleton, had you stayed on the programme, would have been the 2026 Winter Olympics? Yeah,
I think it would be a real full circle moment for me. The fact I was looking towards 2026 Winter Olympics and then to end up in the Commonwealth Games, I think that would be a real achievement, and I think I would get a real sense of joy from that, I suppose.
Very well deserved should that happen. But even just now, are you feeling very different and very happy with where you are and kind of what next? Oh,
for sure, yeah. I think I'm a lot more relaxed about it, enjoying each moment, taking things as it comes and trying not to look too far ahead, just taking it as it comes.
Do you know exactly what you need to work on and what you want to do to get to that level?
Yeah, for sure. My coach is really good at pinpointing a lot. I think when I came back from skeleton, I didn't have the aerobic based endurance. I've had to put in a lot of work this winter for that, and that will continue, and obviously need to get a little bit faster, so got a lot to work on, but I'm looking forward to the challenge that brings.
What did you have to do? What are you having to do to build that back up again?
We're having to do a lot of longer reps in training, which I did not enjoy the start of winter. I was not having a good time, but that's all paid off. I'm feeling a lot fitter for it now. We need to do a lot of technical work to make me a little bit faster. I'm still a bit all over the shop when I run, as I always have been, every aspect of my life all over the shop. But yeah, it's been really, really good.
Brilliant. Well, it's great to hear you back at it, and we will come back to more of you and what you're up to shortly.
Thank you.
Well, a sé season Tòisich a club agus dùich chain Cluinnidh ball-basgaid Alexandra Nic and Tòisich a chuair son dùich ag dùichin bornich Alba and a spores in Nuri. Vrain sinri Alex muna corman ha ball-basgaid a horsgi agus na hai hast and dochas a yenus and sporsiche.
Le spórs an teolach ba Alexandra Nic and Tòisich I the tarring ball-basgaid was the nochti the agallamh ag uair.
Well, my brother played, and in primary school I don't know if I was just copying him, but yeah, I just started. My coach just now asked me if I'm going to play basketball, and I think I started much sooner than she ever thought I would have, but yeah, I just copied my older brother. I got into the under-11 Scotland squad when I was 9, so that gave me a bit of a confidence boost, I guess, and I've never thought about stopping, so it was always just what's the next thing I can do to keep playing. I mean, so unexpected. I didn't, as a 9-year-old, didn't think I was going to get to do that, but yeah, no, it was amazing.
Tá Alex mar phàirc in skipa fó siaplan díag agallamh son farpas na chearpa, mar an dúri hain agus an skipa eilos luachta Cluinnidh Iona
I mean, as a team, I think we did so well. We lost some close games, but I know I was just really happy to be there, and then I got to be like a starter for every game, so that was amazing. And yeah, I was getting quite a lot of minutes as well, so yeah, it was good. It helped my confidence too, especially playing against like these other teams like who play at such a high level. They make us better to play against harder teams. We played Serbia in a prep tournament. They're just like much bigger and taller and stronger than us, but yeah, it definitely helps us all improve as players playing against harder teams. And I doubt I would have ever gone to Montenegro and Serbia, so yeah, I'm getting to go to different parts of the world I never would have done something fun. It's so good. They're like my second family, the amount of time I spend there. Yeah, I've met my best friends ever there, and I wouldn't have done anything without my coaches. So.
Guy Alex a henjemacher is gearlister is on chi spars off na bliana, ag na dúis an dodan ich Alba an spars, an a David spichit a ga. Hug sinnigid thuilleadh misna is on servakish a varach a colonna.
No, not at all, and it was surreal. Like, I was in a room with like Olympic athletes and everything. Yeah, I didn't expect to be one of 3 nominated for that award, so that was crazy because we didn't win or anything at the Euros, but it's really motivated me to go and, I don't know, just to keep playing sport. It's so cool. It let me see like what it's actually like to be in a professional sport environment. Like, it's definitely, basketball's what I want to do, because I'm getting massages after games and stuff. It's just, yeah, I want to play basketball.
Hij is tar angas a thuilleadh a haie díachain, agus a Alex Tangal son a corman a ha ball-basgaid iad hort ye. Son an season the heeing, han runa gog a gamas a thuilleadh servakish a colonna, coimhead an skip a náisianta, a chai gamas Cluinnidh Iona, coimhead skip a bhith.
Just the amount of things I've got to do. I was in Barcelona with the Scotland team. I've had the experience of training with like really high level coaches, and just like the experience of playing against these other top teams. It's definitely helped me improve as a player. It's more than just a sport and like getting exercise in. Like, I've got to travel the world and like meet my best friends like for life, so just to really show it's more than just a sport. I mean, it'd be nice to have a repeat of this year, play for Scotland again, maybe GB, and I don't know, get to cup final with my club, because that was cool too. So yeah, it'd be nice to do the same again. There's lots of options, but all I know is that I want to keep playing basketball, because yeah, there is so many things I could do, but I'm not decided completely what I want to do yet, but I know basketball is what I want to keep doing.
Kelsey, how lovely is it seeing a young athlete really enjoying her sport and going so far to even be nominated for Young Sportswoman of the Year at the Scottish Women in Sport Awards?
It's fantastic. She's done so well, and it's really lovely to see, and she's got a real enthusiasm for basketball, which is fantastic.
It's great, and even despite what sport you play, just tell us how amazing it is representing Scotland.
Oh, representing Scotland is huge for any athlete, no matter what age they are. That is what you aim for, and I think as Scots we are so passionate about our country. Your whole family is passionate about the country, and it's a real achievement for any Scot to represent Scotland.
Tell me some of your favourite moments from representing Scotland?
Yeah, I think representing Scotland, it's always good fun in the teams. There's always some real characters, and I think that's where we're quite lucky as well. So I've got a lot of funny memories. I think getting to, go to the Commonwealth Games is fantastic. Every year at the Loughborough International is a real opportunity for those who are getting their first Scotland vest in athletics. So there's always some real special moments in there as well every year.
Which I'm sure Alex will have throughout the years with her time in Scotland. And another bit that you could probably resonate with was Alex talking about the travel, like you've just spoken about with the Gold Coast and the Commonwealth Games, and also the friends that you meet. How much do you take from sport, again, regardless what you do, what you play? I
think regardless of what sport you play, you have an amazing experience. You make so many friends for life, and they really are friends for life. You share so much in common with them, and you'll stay in contact with them for years to come. I think you get so many different personal skills from sport, whether it's your ability to communicate, whether it's your decision making under pressure, which that transfers to even school exams for Alex, and that's really quite special.
It can totally set you up for life. And another thing that she did mention also was even the opportunities for younger people coming through sport. I mean, that's something you know a lot about, which we will talk about shortly, but how important is that to have those opportunities and those pathways too?
Yeah, I think pathways are so important. I think we don't have elite sport if we don't have grassroots, and I think it is really important to put a lot of time and investment into grassroots in order to get the gain later down the line, and more people benefit from the grassroots sides. So even though you might not go on to be one of the best in the world, I think because you can develop so much as a person, that investment is so important.
And you can see it pays off in every different aspect. But like we say, I mean, you are fully immersed in sport. If you're not taking part in sport, you're working in sport. And grassroots is something you do know so much about. Can you just tell us the work that you did before your PE teacher training, now your work with Active Schools, because that was really interesting too, getting kids involved?
Yeah, so Active Schools in Aberdeen is really well run. It's fantastic. So I was a transition project activator, so I was mostly working with primary sevens and first years and making that transition to secondary school just a little bit easier. And the first years, those who maybe struggled and needed a little bit of enhanced transition, I worked in one-to-ones and small groups with them. The primary sevens, it was just trying to get them up to the high school as much as possible, putting on some extracurricular clubs for them to meet other primary sevens and just make that transition a little bit smoother and less to worry about, because it's quite a big thing at that age for them.
And through that, you'll have seen just how important sport is, I can imagine, for that age group, especially with such a huge life change.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it gives them an opportunity to meet new friends, but also just dealing with the pressure of it. I think if they have sport as a little bit of a distraction, it can definitely help and make that a little bit easier for them. So I think sport is huge. There's so much more to it than just the physical side.
There is. And tell us now what you're doing with your PE teacher training, because you are staying within sport. And I can imagine you're just so passionate about the teaching too.
Oh, for sure. I love it. I really love it. So I'm doing my teacher training at Strathclyde at the moment. I'm just a way to start my next placement, and that'll be finished up. Well, the course will be finished up at the end of May, and then I'll be into my probation year. But I love it, and I think it's really good to show, I guess, give the pupils as positive an experience as I can, because I've been so lucky through sport that I've had a great journey, and I just want them to have a really positive experience. And I think if they do, it might lead to lifelong physical activity participation, which is huge. And I just want them to have a great time, to be honest.
It's so lovely, and it's amazing hearing how passionate you are about it. But what I really want to know, because you're so busy with that, and you were so busy with Active Schools before, is how you balance teaching with athletics. Because I know we were talking at the start of the programme about how kind of wanting to reach that higher level again. So how do you do both?
Yeah, I love spinning plates. I love juggling. I guess it's just in my personality. I think you have to be quite organised with things, but I just love being busy and would hate not being busy. So I think that is probably how I do it. I have everything quite planned out, and just to make sure I get everything done. That's really important, that I like to stay on top of everything, and yeah, it's good.
Tell us what a week realistically looks like.
Yeah, so it's a bit crazy. I train 6 days a week. with athletics, so that's in the evenings. And at the moment, I'm in uni before, but if I'm on placement, I'm essentially working full time and then training in the evenings. So a lot of the time I'll prep my meals on the weekends, and I have all my lesson planning and things to do as well. So the rest of my weekend is also taken up with lesson planning when I'm not training, and the evenings are a lot of lesson plans. And yeah, it's chaos, but I love it.
It's very impressive, and for your teacher training as well, it'd be so great for the kids to see you teach them, but still be involved at such a high level. So that is really brilliant to hear. But Kelsey, we will be coming back to more of this shortly. Well, as chéigin arab is mohaide hel a chuir son Morton in Nuri, chai Laura Darroch a drochd mun gloin, a céalach féimi opar launse. Inis hair as ar a phàirc agus a genu a ddíchail son a skipa éiche a fuútach suas clár in championship.
Van a vinnig Tòisich, va fest Cluinnidh Morton FC, Laura Darroch gur ball-basgaid ar a son.
So joined Port Glasgow Juniors Boys Academy when I was 9. My dad took me up, and then I think when I was 15 we amalgamated to become Morton. So that was Leanne McPhail and Gary that started that off. And then throughout the years we just progressed, and now we obviously are playing competitively in the championship. I've always been quite competitive and into all different sports, but I tried a few as I was growing up, and football just always seemed to be the one that stuck. I've got 2 sisters and a brother, and my 2 sisters are dancers. It seemed to be me and my brother that just picked up with the football, and that was our favourite.
Ha Laura go lua a tors taing don choirsnoch a chrúi clubbe le arinach o Sóriger son borniches Cluinnidh a yema chloich ag a thuilleadh.
Yes, since I've been here since the start, there's a few girls that have also been here since the start, so it's been nice to develop with them throughout the years and grow older together and create strong friendships and bonds that have lasted out with football and during football as well.
We were driven by the community, and we were one of the first, ourselves in Port Glasgow Juniors were the first in Inverclyde to have the girls' pathway, so it was driven by the numbers and the expectation in girls' football as that started to lift. We went into the COVID break with 40 girls on our pathway. We're now sitting at just over 100 girls on our pathway, so it's rather strange. You would think the break would see girls fall away from football, but we are seeing the complete opposite. We had a waiting list coming into the new season. Our pathway started back tonight, and with a waiting list going into that, which we've now cleared and got all the girls involved in football.
For aunge mat dúlaigh Laura Nuri, nuair a ríisteach go triplet an ACL díreach nuair a bheith ball-basgaid an ban an Alba, go bhí feichin achrichin aonteach an structure na league.
So it was a game in April 2022 against Edinburgh City, and I was running back to defend, and my right foot planted and got stuck in the astro as my left foot was trying to get the ball. And as a result I ruptured my ACL and tore my meniscus. I thought the next day it would be okay and I would heal and it would be fine, and just continued to go about daily life as a PE teacher. And then I was joining in with the kids, and I twisted and my knee buckled again. So after that I went up to the hospital, and Colin arranged an appointment with the physio, where we quite quickly realised that there was further damage and that I was going to require surgery. I didn't really think about it much at the time. I just kind of took it each day at a time, and because the season was coming to an end as well, I think it made it a wee bit easier. The most difficult part obviously was when the girls were going through pre-season and looking forward to that new league, and the new league had just been created as well, and I didn't really feel involved with all the setup of it. Even though I was there and I was watching training and I was at every game on the Sundays, it was kind of as if I was an outsider just looking in, as opposed to being on the park and playing and making a contribution.
For Albannach lua ag Laura le taith van coimhead aice an clubbe. Vai commasach current príomide chain, a use her shoy a rasher a fetch tornas loya.
Since the dates happened, I've had so many messages from everybody, but in particular I've had Colin there, who arranged everything with Ross Hall, got me in for the surgery, and then even like out with the club, I've had Alison Fielding. She was my physio. She worked really closely with me for the first 5 weeks after my surgery took place, and then eventually helped me in the coming months to getting back on the pitch. Obviously I spent a few weeks just in the gym doing a lot of band work, trying to get my range of movement again, straightening my leg, bending my leg, and kind of putting weight on it in different ways, in different angles. So then when I got the go-ahead that I was able to join back in training, once again I was supported by Colin and the coaches because they adapted the training to make it suit me. So for example, we would do like a lot of passing, short sharp passing instead of like possession boxes and drills like that, so that I could be really involved with the team. It was a great feeling to come back into it, and the girls all made me feel welcome, and it was as if I'd never been away.
Laura Darroch go bhfuil dreuchd go uair go bí ar a gháirte go ríist. Ach nuair is muinnecha sa mi dhéin, ha caineach ar cúit na príomh fungin von doctorin.
It's weird in training. I sometimes overthink things a wee bit more than I do in games. I feel like, especially Sunday there, I was so involved in the game that I didn't really think about it, and I felt like I used my body stuff a wee bit more than I have been. I've been a wee bit tentative in training and in the previous games, but I feel like week on week my confidence will just grow, and eventually hopefully it'll be at the back of my mind. Obviously re-rupture is always in my head, but I spoke to the surgeon Gordon Mackay about that, and he said that he had introduced so he obviously created the internal brace, which is different to the reconstruction 10 years ago. He had put forward that there'll be less chance of me re-rupturing because they put in a different wee like fibre rope that they hadn't done for the first 5 years, and that's why the re-rupture rate was quite high as opposed to in recent years where the re-rupture rates went down. So I always have that in my mind and know that he obviously knows what he's talking about.
Inis, Laura gamas mórta na chuideachos an league. Son tain go háir an clubber son an taiche thugad dhí. Aice ha coacha Colin McIntosh an dóigh glan an thuilleadh sear von nuair aine rais.
The target for me was always to be up challenging. Unfortunately, we've not had a great start to the season. It's been very inconsistent. That's more to do with the level we're playing against week in, week out. But there's still 16 games to go. There's no reason why we can't be in the top 4, get into the split in the second half of the season, and that'll always remain the target. But next season is the big one for us because we're a new side in terms of first team. We're a very young side, so as long as we can stabilise this year, then next season's a massive year for us.
Laura Darroch glúas at the road leis an dreuchd ball-basgaid. Ach ha diach na hí riamh a thuine amach tra lán. Aice ha son duine eile san nuan suiachug a bhí dáchasach.
I would say just persevere with it. At first it'll be difficult, and there'll be some days where you're lonely and you're thinking to yourself that you're going backwards and you're never going to get to where you were before, but I feel like everything's just happens in time. It's a process and you just need to go through the emotions and let yourself feel that way, and eventually you will get back to where you're supposed to be.
Another inspirational story there, Kelsey, from Laura, coming back from injury. I mean, can you just tell us how difficult that is after such a big one with her knee?
Yeah, I think especially the ACL, I think that's a really difficult one coming back, and you have to put in a lot of work, and it's understandable how you could have a knock to your confidence after that, but she's done so well to get back, and it's really quite inspiring.
If we just go into injuries in general and kind of your experience through athletics too, how, I mean, when you've been through it, what's the mindset to get back into action?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to begin with because it's a real knock, but I think you just kind of focus on that end goal, and you've got little targets to work towards all the time when you're injured, and you just have to focus on those and tick off each day as it comes, and the more of those you tick off, the closer you get to where you want to be.
You sound like you've got a very good mindset with it, because I know everyone's so different, and people do struggle coming back after an injury. Even with your ankle, can you tell us what you did a few years ago and getting back to where you could compete again?
Yeah, so I had a nasty ankle injury back in April 2019. I was hopping over some little plastic hurdles in training and landed on one, and instead of it falling over, my ankle went instead. So it was in a bit of a mess, and the physio said that was going to be the end of my season, but I did want to get back racing in July, and I did get back racing in July. So I just had to put a lot of work in myself. To start with, I was on the bike a lot, strengthening it itself, and I was coming towards the end of my undergraduate degree, and I just really focused on it, and we got there eventually, but yeah, I was probably a bit mental with it.
It's brilliant to hear though, because that's a huge mindset thing, especially when someone, a medical professional, is telling you you can't race again this season, but for you to overcome that, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's. I think if you set your mind on something, you'll get there. But
you're a really good example of that, I would say.
But yeah, I guess you work at it, and you do work hard, and you will usually 9 times out of 10 get there. Sometimes you don't, but it's worth a shot. It's always worth, you know, putting your hat in the ring and having a go at it.
Well, very well done to get back, and it's great to see Laura back too, because ACLs is something we've spoken on this programme a lot about before. It's a long injury, so actually to come back from there, get back into football and enjoy it again. Now, how good is that to see? Yeah,
she's done so well. I think the rate of ACL injury in women, it's about 5 times more, so it's a real tricky one, and there's so many factors come into that. So she's done really, really well, and like the fact that she's managed to come back but also be in such good form when she's come back is brilliant, really good to see. What
else is great to see is Morton thriving as a team in general. To have 40 players pre-COVID, to then come back with 100 plus more waiting. For you hearing that, how good is that?
Oh, I love that. It is fantastic. That's 100 girls that might not have otherwise been participating in sport, and we know that girls face more barriers when it comes to sports participation, so that's absolutely brilliant to see, and I'm sure the club will continue to grow, so I'm loving it, absolutely loving it.
And we love a pathway too.
Oh, we do love a pathway, and I think, you know, pathways are so important, and they have a very good one.
And we can see the evidence of that with Morton, so it's great to see, and great to see Laura back and enjoying football. But for you personally, what is coming up next? Talk us through the next couple of weeks and months in terms of athletics anyway.
So it's the indoor season at the moment, so I've got a very busy spell coming up, racing 7 weekends out of 8 as I start my next placement, so it's going to be lots of spinning plates again, and then after the indoor season we'll start to come on to the outdoor season. I'll be looking back to getting to the 400s again, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, get back to what I know and what I enjoy after my little breakaway. Have been doing some shorter stuff last year, was doing a lot of 1s and 2s, but I'm looking forward to getting back to what I know.
So what will you be doing within these weekend competitions coming up? What will you be competing in?
So to start with, we're doing a lot of 6 days and 200s, a lot of shorter stuff, and then we'll start to move towards the 400s, hopefully towards the end of the indoor season. So I'm excited.
Are you feeling in a good place with these?
Yeah, for sure. I think training's been going really well, but the beauty of the 400 is that you can be running really well in training, and the lactic acid still hits you like a train at the end. So nobody ever really knows until you get a few races in and see.
And tell me, because there are some bigger competitions coming up for you, how much are you excited for those?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to those. So I'll have the British Universities coming up very soon indoors, which will be quite a big one for Strathclyde especially. The Sports Scholars scheme there is fantastic, and you know, we put a lot of emphasis on giving back to them through a good performance at Bucks, so really looking forward to that. And then outdoors we'll get the Scottish champs, the British champs, and yeah, just the road back, and we'll see where that goes.
And you've been meeting some kind of old faces through that too?
Oh, absolutely. Bump into all sorts, people you've raced years ago and who are still kicking around. All of us are still there having a go at it, so it's been brilliant, really good.
Oh, Kelsey, it's great. It's so lovely to hear just how far you've come, what a journey you have been on. Honestly, it's so nice to hear that you're in such a good place and really enjoying athletics now.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and I love being back.
Oh,
so
great.
Really good.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. We will be keeping a close eye on you, seeing what comes, and 2026 we've got good faith.
Thank you.
Well, sinna airson in noch in a chiadgain, bhí leis coache agus cluichead topar na maithair le an Crichton call room in studio. Jan Cínseach go bhfuil si bh lenta na BBC Alba agus nach cailsibh phrògram san bí, agus son thuilleadh scíalachcin láitear a chlointin ó saoil spórs na ban an Alba. Hí sin sibh in nach cheachcin.